Hey dude, this is Jaden one more time. We have another deck profile coming at you this time. This one specifically, we will be returning to the Darkness Dragon world, and we will be covering the Purgatory Knights. Purgatory Knights are absolutely insane. They hold a monster that is similar to the Overlord, so obviously I would be impartial to this deck. I will warn you, there's still some stuff I want to pick up for this deck, but I did make the edits to it that you'll see in this last night and play tested it with my friends, and I am very happy with how it performed. Purgatory Knights, some of the stuff they got in set 2 is pretty amazing. So let's get straight into this deck profile. So for the Buddy Monster, it's really not a... if you have played Purgatory Knights or heard of them before, you probably could have guessed the Buddy Monster. It's Purgatory Knights leader Demios Sword Dragon. So we will cover him in a minute. If you are a veteran of the game, you probably know what he does. We played 2 copies of the new size 3 for Purgatory Knights. Purgatory Knights Death Sickle Cavalry. This card is absolutely insane. I want at least one more copy of it. It's a size 3 with 9,000 power, 2 crit, and 4k defense. His call cost is pay 2 gauge and pay 1 life. If you have an original size 2 monster with Purgatory Knights in its card name on your field, reduce the size of this card on the field by 2. So if you have a size 2 monster on your field, he becomes a size 1 with 9,000 power, 2 crit, 4k defense, plus he has double attack. That is insane. As well as the ability of, when this card is destroyed, put up to 1 size 2 or less monster with Purgatory Knights in its card name from your drop zone into your hand. So not only does this card help you continue your swarm, but he is also basically a Rhoda from your drop zone. He lets you just go, ooh, what Purgatory Knight in the drop zone do I want? I want my Buddy Monster. So this card is absolutely amazing. I want one more copy of it. I love this card. Size 2s. Pretty limited. 4 copies of Demios Sword Dragon, 5 total for the Buddy. Really want a Buddy rare version of this card. So his ability is Act. Counter. During your turn, destroy another monster on your field with Purgatory Knights and its card name. If you do, stand this card. So the idea is to pretty much get 3 monsters. Obviously, 3 size 2s wouldn't work. But you go attack, and then attack with another monster. Sack this off, stand him up, attack. And then you go attack with this, and then activate, sack, restand, attack again. So this card and the cards that are in the deck can just cause a lot of stuff to happen, and he is an amazing card. And then for the last size 2, unfortunately, I only have 2 copies of Purgatory Knights leader Demios Sword Inferno, the evolved form of Demios. Very good card. Pay 2 gauge and put this on top of an original 70... wow, I almost said 72 colors. Pay 2 gauge and put this on top of an original size 2 or greater monster with Purgatory Knights in its card name on your field. His ability, Counter. During your turn, destroy a monster with Purgatory Knights in its card name on your field. If you do, stand this card and destroy a size 2 or less on your opponent's field. So he maintains Demios' ability, but when he restands, he destroys a monster. And he gets a stat increase from 623 to 725. I do want one more copy of this card, and there is another size 2 I want to get. I really want to get the size 2 434 Blood Axe Dragon, I think it's called, just because it's 434 and has no call cost at all. But that's not a need, but the second I saw Demios in Season 1, I knew I'd be building this deck. For size 1s, for the new Purgatory Knights, we are playing 4 copies of Purgatory Knights Pain Dagger Dragon. So he's a size 1 with 4,000 power, 2 crit, 1k defense. When this card is destroyed by the effect of a monster, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So a lot of Purgatory size 1s, they have abilities when they're destroyed by the effect of a monster, meaning if Demios kills them off, you gain an ability. So he helps you gain back 1 gauge. Next, we play 4 copies of Purgatory Knight's Eval Grebe Dragon. Size 1 monster with 3,000 power, 1 crit, and 3k defense. His ability is during the attack phase. When this card is destroyed by the effect of a monster, draw 1 card. So he lets you draw an additional card if you sack him off through Demios' effect. Next, we play 3 copies of Purgatory Knight's Venom Spike Dragon. Size 1 with 5,000 power, 1 crit, and 1 defense. When this card is destroyed by the effect of a monster, you may pay 1 gauge if you do destroy an opponent's a monster on your opponent's field. And then for the last size 1 is I play 1 copy of Purgatory Knight's Eraser Hand Dragon. I want more copies of this card. This card is awesome. Size 1 with 4,000 power, 1 crit, and 3k defense. An act ability called Another Hand. Destroy another card with Purgatory Knights and its card name on your field. If you do, your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and discards it. You may only use this ability once per turn. So, that is our size 1s. For size 0s, we play 5. We play 3 Purgatory Knights Crossbow Dragon. Size 0 with 2,000 power, 1 crit, and 2,000 defense. You may only call this card if you have a card with Purgatory Knights and its card name on your field, and when this card deals damage to your opponent, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So it helps you gauge a little bit. And then we play 2 copies of Purgatory Knights Knuckle Duster Dragon. Honestly, these will be dropped probably for more size 2s or 1s. These are in here just because that's the best option I have right now. He's a size 0 with 2,000 power, 2 crit, and 1k defense. You may only call this card if you have a Purgatory Knights on the field. So he's mainly in there just if I call this guy because I'm just trying to start swinging early. Because you can call this still as a size 3. You can call these on with him. So, or you can call this out when you're getting ready to do your Demios shenanigans. So that is all for our monsters. For the weapon, we play 4 copies of Purgatory Sword Fatal. Pay 1 gauge to equip, and when a monster on your field is destroyed for this turn, this card gets +1 critical. This card can only activate once per turn. So, if you kill a monster off with Demios, this becomes a 4,000 power sword with 3 crits. So, really, really easy to do. Only 2 copies of Black Dragon Shield. If you watched my Abigail deck profile, you saw me explaining that I only had 6 copies of Black Dragon Shield. I want 2 more so I can play 4, but as of right now, 2 is fine because this deck already has a lot of defensive spells in it. So I will be getting 2 more eventually. I mean, they come in common, so they're pretty cheap. But as of right now, even with 2, the deck's fine. 3 copies of Midnight Shadow. This card is probably only temporary, and I hate saying that because it has Tsuku's art on it when he was the Purgatory Knight. And that's because, honestly, there is another card in, and I just dropped a card. There's a card that works for this deck so much better, but I only have 2 extra copies of it, and that is Black Cloth Blade. Well, first let me explain Midnight Shadow. It's basically Solomon's Shield. You may only cast this card during an attack on your opponent's turn. If it's not a link attack, you nullify it. Black Cloth Blade is you may only cast this card during an attack on your opponent's turn, and if you do not have a monster in the center, counter, nullify the attack, and put the top card of your deck into your opponent's drop zone. Now, it has that mill 1, which doesn't do anything for this deck specifically, but it can nullify link attacks. And your center is usually not occupied, and if it is during your turn, but it's going to be sacked off for Demios. So this card really does not hinder this deck in any way. I will be probably dropping 2 copies of this for more Black Cloth Blades, just because I like this card better. Then we play 3 copies of the new spell from set 2 called We Are Immortal. This card is counter. Choose a monster with Purgatory Knights and its card name on your field. For this turn, the next time that card would be destroyed, return it to your hand and put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So if your opponent, say, you can send your Demios out in early game and be comfortable with it, because if they attack it, you can just cast We Are Immortal, bounce it back to your hand, and gain a gauge out of it. So it gives you a way to protect your Purgatory Knights. 2 copies of Purgatory Flame that resides within the body. Really good card, another protector card of sorts. You may only cast this card during an attack on your opponent's turn. Cast cost, pay 2 gauge. Counter, destroy a monster with Purgatory Knights in its card name on your field. If you do, nullify the attack and deal damage equal to your opponent, equal to the critical of that card to your opponent. So you can cast this and catch your opponent off guard sometimes and even win the game. So that is pretty much all for the defensive spells. We have more. We play 3 copies of Crush That Body and Sustain That Mind. Set spell. Anytime a Purgatory Knights monster is destroyed by a effect, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. If your life would become 0, you may sacrifice this card and mill the top card of your deck. If it is a spell card, you gain 2 life and you remain in the game. Next, unfortunately, I only have 2 copies of Purgatory Knights Forever. This will be a 4 of once I get 2 more of it. This card is amazing. This is what keeps this deck flowing and your combo working. Pay 1 gauge and take a damage. Put up to 2 monsters of Purgatory Knights in its card name from your drop zone into your hand. So, pretty self-explanatory. That is a 4 of, easy. Then we played 2 copies of Devil's Stigma. Some people are cutting this in Purgatory Knights, I've found. I still like it. It can't be cast during the final phase, which is, I don't know why you'd want to cast it in the final phase. Counter, destroy a monster on the field. If you do, put 2 cards from the top of your deck into your gauge and gain 1 life. I like to use this if my opponent is attacking a monster and I'm going to let it die. I can just counter with this, kill it myself, gain the 2 gauge, and gain a life. So I prefer doing that. So it's in here for that reason alone. And then we play 2 copies of Death Damage, just because it is a simple card to just cast. If you're getting ready to do your Demios combo, kill the monster in their center, open it up, and begin your onslaught. So that is my Purgatory Knights deck profile, guys. Very fun to play. Awesome card. I absolutely love Demios Sword Dragon. He is absolutely badass. I so want a buddy rare version of this card, and I want to get this deck finished. I really, really, really enjoyed playing this deck. It's very good. I still think it has a very good metagame, especially with the new Impact monster that I really want to get a hold of. But anywho, guys, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I hope you will leave me some comments and some thoughts below and some suggestions if you have them. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and I will see you next time.